It should be no secret, no matter how hard they try to keep it a secret, it shouldn't be a secret any longer. Who is very interested in this path of Leviathan? Who's very interested in the crossing of these genes? Who is obsessed with this period of time of sevenfold, 70 generations, and seeking to desperately break the seal? We know that it's involved with Mystery Babylon, that is associated with these mystery religions, that is further manifested within the philosophies, the theology of these secret societies. Mainly, at least in the instance of this country, reflected in the fraternal orders of Freemasonry. So if you were to just simply look at this very old photo from a Masonic Lodge with its members decked in their full regalia, a few very interesting facts or things of interest are going to appear here. The first one is I'd like you to look at these priest figures that are even up here atop of the king. And you can instantly associate at least the garb that they're wearing with the same type of hats that the Catholic popes wear. Now, that is for good reason, because this same assemblage goes all the way back to ancient Samaria, all the way back to the time when these ancient sons of God were intermingling with the sons of men, the daughters of men on this world. Right there shows you the connection that these mystery religions have to ecclesiastical Babylon. And if you want to put it within the perspective of Catholicism, basically Catholicism is their attempt at corrupting the good news and the gospel of Christianity. So they have overlaid these pagan doctrines, these images that are connected to what they believe to be their origins of divinity, the place and the source where they're going to receive their power from these ancient Anunnaki gods. They are the ecclesiastical Babylon. They're the representations of these mystery religions that are associated with Mystery Babylon, and it's right here in front of your face. Now, of course, there are people within Freemasonry that have no connection to these things in this context whatsoever. Of course, there's people that are involved within these fraternal orders that are true good people, without a doubt. You can't judge anyone by the collective majority. God truly judges each person individually. But in perspective of this judgment, you have to realize that if we have some sort of judgment or some millstone that's to be cast off the coast of that great city, New York City, that's a collective judgment. That's a judgment that is going to take place against a myriad of different types of people. People that are both wicked-minded, and then people that are both just simply trying to survive, and that do have good morals, that do value family and friendship and brotherhood, that do seek to be good and do good to one another. This judgment will come against them also. That's a collective judgment. That's not a righteous judgment. So this judgment is not coming from the Father, because the Father knows the individual heart. The millstone itself does not seek out the individual heart of the believers and then at that point seek to cast judgment against it. No, it's going to cast judgment against the collective whole of this area known as the 13 colonies of the United States. Once again, not a righteous judgment. So my point is just to show you that we can see that it is these mystery religions that are responsible for the traditions that are being carried out and manifested in our world from these ancient Anunnaki gods. These are their gods. And if you were to look further at what is simply right above, staring us all in the face, you can simply see the sine wave right there. What do we say about the sine wave? That it represents the path of the sun along the ecliptic. And there we have within our central G, the symbolism for the sun. Now, this snaking crooked path, as I said, is connected to the DNA double helix. And as you can see here, right here in this frieze, all right, this trim work known as the frieze up above, we see that they have superimposed the sine wave as double, which now manifests perfectly to the DNA double helix, which is bringing them to the birthing of this son. As we know, it's the manipulation of the genetics of man, which is going to birth their son into this world. And at the same time, the manipulation of this genetics they've been tricked into believing is going to bring them some sort of divinity. Now, all of this is based upon them breaking a time period known as a seal. Well, what's important here is if we were to just simply turn this on its side, what do we have manifest once again? As I told you, there is the perfect hourglass. The hourglass represents the symbol of time. We have to realize that the serpent associated with Genesis, that sevenfold in 70 generations binding period for the sons of Cain. We know that the sons of Cain are related to this Cain going to the land of Nod, there where he takes a wife. We know that this is in representation of the beginning of the fruition of the offspring of this descendancy into our world. Well, you can see that based upon what they perceive to be their Zion, what they perceive to be their golden age, what they perceive to be as their nirvana, their bliss, is all kind of wrapped up in bringing the world to this particular point, overcoming the seal that is associated with this binding that is further associated with Job chapter 38, as it describes who can loose the bands of Orion. And then loosing the bands of Orion is associated with the breaking of the seal, which is sealing these beings from our world. Well, we know that these people who are seeking to do the great work are responsible for breaking the seal, whether these people realize this or not. So now we see the hourglass begins to form what shape once again? It begins to form the shape of Orion. If you were to simply Google Orion itself or Orion's belt, you will begin to see that it manifests the shape of an hourglass. And as we said, that very same hourglass shape is manifested on the bottom of the Black Widow spider, which comes into the fullness of this Zion, or which comes into the fullness of this Ishtar. Now, furthermore, I just said Zion, did I not? That they believe that in order for them to achieve their Zion, which is further associated with the building of this temple Zion, which is further associated with this moon place known as Shinar, which is even associated with the building of a temple body by the manipulation of the genetics. And there we see the double helix. So if they're trying to achieve some sort of Zion, some sort of nirvana, some sort of golden age, by the manipulation of the genetics, by the breaking of the seal, we should expect to see that here also. Would we not? Well, yes, we do. If you were to simply take this shape here and follow the crossing over of the geometry, we're going to find that that forms a Z. That forms a Z. Okay? We could take this line here, follow it through, and bring it back. That forms a Z, does it not? Now, if we take the other lines that we have not drawn, because we just draw the top two, or the top and the bottom, and then we make its connection. Now we take the other portion of the geometry, which would be this line, and then this cross as it goes down. What does that form right there? That forms an N. The first letter of Zion and the last letter of Zion. Now remember, there's been a seal that's been put upon them, and that seal is associated with the X. Now, what do you see that this shape forms perfectly? It forms the X, does it not? Now, you have to realize that the X is also symbolage for crossing, and then it's associated with the Nibiru planet that is also considered the planet of crossing. But in reality, that is covering up what the real meaning of the planet of crossing is. It's our planet. It's our planet that has been double crossed by these double speaking serpents that are using every sophistry of Satan the hourglass that begins to make up the shape of Orion, associated further with the time period of the sevenfold 70 generations with the hourglass, and then therefore we find the goal of their Zion with the two letters Z and N, which is all responsible for breaking the seal that is associated with the X. It's all there. And of course, the symbolage for who is really responsible for this ecclesiastical Babylon, really responsible for this false image of Christianity, of which they're using to supposedly pin on the true believers of Jesus Christ, who really have nothing to do with this Catholicism. Now, there are good people that are in the Catholic religions, of course, and there are people that love and cherish Jesus Christ, the actual true Jesus that died upon the cross. You cannot judge the people within the religions for the religious actions of the peoples that have formed it. The peoples that are within these religions are not the ones that formed it. We see who is responsible for the forming of these portions of religion, of which Jesus Christ, when he appeared in this world in the flesh, rejected these religions. He rejected the establishment of the religious authorities of the day. It's these very same religious authorities of this day who are rejecting Jesus Christ, and they're doing it secretly. They're doing it with the encoding of their symbols, and now they are pushing their agents out into the truth movement to begin to cloud the word so that nobody can really realize where this deception is truly coming from. But if you can understand the root of truth and then what is truly directly in your face, you can realize exactly who is responsible for this great work. I'll be back.